Hi guys, my name is Faith Moyosori Agbola, aka AFM Stories, and you're welcome to my scholarship story. Today I have the amazing Joshua Okoduwa, who's popularly known as the Josh Bam on social media. Anyways, he's a 2020 Chevening scholar who's going to be studying an MA in Poverty and Development at the University of Sussex. He's actually one of those successful people. Anyways, how are you doing today, Joshua? How do you feel to be a Chevening scholar?
Well, first off, I would like to say a big thank you for inviting me and giving me a platform and opportunity to also inspire young people who might be interested in advancing their education beyond the shores of Nigeria. So thank you very much. Like you rightly said, I'll be studying poverty and development at the Institute of Development Studies, University of Success. Which is ranked the first in the world. I don't mean to brag, but you know, that's about it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so how does it feel though? How do you feel being a Chevening scholar?
Well, for me, I feel like this is not just a win for myself. This is a win for young people, and not just young people, but a win for some of the communities that we support, a win for some of the women, the children, the girls that we've supported in time. This is not just a win for me, it's a win for the organization that I currently lead, which is Restructure Africa, where we're addressing the issues of poverty through increasing access to education and public health. And yeah, this is also a win for myself and also a win to my parents, because I didn't fly from, I mean, like somebody didn't just put concussion together and I was made. So I feel like this is just a win for every single person that has just been involved in my journey, most especially when I started Community Development Corps in 2016. So how this whole thing came about was I started Restructure Africa in 2016, and pretty much I was just very passionate about, you see like poor people, you see rich people, you're like, how can we even divide between like the rich and the poor? And in 2016, undergrad at University of Lagos, studying geography and planning, and I felt low, like I'm faced with like over 25,000 students yearly, which is at the University of Lagos, and every single person comes from different walks of life. So I felt to myself, like, how can we create, how can we influence change? You know, within, like, how can I influence change within my immediate community? And I started an organization then. It was called Josh Okoduwa Initiative in 2016. And it was good because we got support from the school. We also got support from, restaurants within Unilag. Where they gave us bags of rice. They gave us, they even supplied food. We had about 60 volunteers. They also supplied drinks and food for some of the volunteers. Because, I mean, it just like mattered that they were happy that there were young people that were attending Unilag, and at the same time they were also concerned about like people that that kind of like lived in Yaba, Makoko. So that was where we actually started from. And again, I got criticized. Young people, man, whatever. See, we need to learn to do better. And some of the criticisms were, Joshua, you don't have money. Why are you starting an organization? You don't have the money to do this. You shouldn't be doing this. Why not focus on making money? Then you can choose to support people. So, I mean, like right now, these are the same guys that still call me and say, hey, Joshua, congratulations. We're impressed by what you're doing. Keep up the work. How can we support? What's the organization account number? So I just really feel that, if God has instructed you to do something, you just really have to learn to stay true to the vision. So in general, I feel elated. Yeah.
That's like really, really inspiring. Like, so what I just got from that is that sometimes people might not understand your dream or your vision, but then you just have to keep at it, and eventually you're going to recruit like people who are going to support you. All right, so what do you think about scholarships now? Do you think that anybody can win a scholarship?
Interesting. So I'll just talk a little bit about my journey. So my first ever opportunity that I got was YPB, Young Professional Bootcamp, under the platform by Pastor Pojo Oyemade, and this was in 2018. Prior to that time, I had a negative notion towards international opportunities, and I'll say why. Because I felt like most times I saw that, like, I knew people who were doing the work, and I knew people who were not doing the work. And people who were not doing the work were the ones going for these international opportunities. So I felt like there was a disconnect. Like, why is it that, oh, these guys that actually do the work, they don't actually get these opportunities? So I felt like international opportunities were just for razzmatazz. Like, people were just going there for photo ops, you know, like, oh, I've been here, I met with this person. But in the real sense, they were actually not influencing change or reshaping narratives, you know, within Nigeria. So my first opportunity that I felt, okay, after more consultations, they're like, Joshua, why don't you apply for Yali? I applied for Yali West Africa, but I never got selected. Yes, so that was it for me. So I lost, like, I felt like, oh my Joshua, maybe this thing is not really for you. So I applied for YPB and I got selected, and that was what gave me more clarity as to my role in the development space. Because I remember asking Pastor Podri a question, you know, I said, sir, like, what do you do when it seems like, you know, it seems like there's so much competition within the NGO space? And Pastor Podri said something that, you know, God has created us as channels. And this is the core, I mean, this is a core value, right? We should be channels. So regardless of wherever you are, I mean, you should be able to, see yourself as a channel, you know, to be able to influence change. So if you are going for international opportunities, also knowing that you're going for these international opportunities to be able to pay forward, right? One other question that I also asked Pastor Podri was, sir, why is it that there is limited money, like limited financing within the development space? Pastor Podri said, yo, where did you get that fact from? Because another thing that I thought was, there's not so much money, people are not willing to give money. But then it was when I started digging deep into development, I'm like, yo, like, a lot of people invest a lot of money into like the international development space. So generally for me, that was where the journey started. Then after YPB in 2019, I applied for the Pan-African Youth Conference in Banjul, Gambia. And my flight and my cost of travel was going to be around $600. But Joshua Okoduwa did not have $600. And in my mind, understanding that international opportunities were great and it would help amplify your work and all of that. So I thought, hey, let me start a fundraising campaign to raise $600. Again, people approach me and like, oh, if you're traveling, why are you not traveling to a place like New York? Why are you not traveling to a place like, you know, the UK? Like, why are you traveling to an African country? Like, you know, what are you going to do there? But then I felt like this was an opportunity that I needed to utilize, because I felt like it was going to give me an opportunity to also meet other young African leaders, and we were going to share networks and all of that. So, well, went on Instagram, went on Twitter, raised $600. I didn't exactly raise $600, but I was able to cover my flights, and it was good. I went for the conference, met a few people, made connections with the UNODC, made some connections with some United Nations that were currently at the that came for the conference. It was a 3-day conference, and that's how the journey actually started. So when I came back, people were like, "Oh wow, oh you went for it, oh that's nice. What did you learn?" And people now began to understand that like there's this saying that says like where there's a will, there's a way, right? So I went for that. Then I also applied for the Watson Institute in 2016 again. In 2019, that was last year. And the Watson Institute was pretty much a life changer for me, because I went to the US for 5 months thereabouts, and this was what exposed my mind. That gave me more clarity as to what I was going. Again, for some weird reasons, Gambia was $600. For the Watson Institute, it was $6,000. So it was like and it was the hardest that I ever raised. A quick backstory. I hope I'm not taking too much time. Okay.
Please, we want to hear the story.
Like a quick backstory. I actually gave up on Watson because I actually come from a poor home, which I don't necessarily say. But my parents are not in a position to actually afford some of all these things that I go for. And when I told them that Daddy, you see, I'm going to the US, so this is what I need to do. My father said, trust God. Because, there's a point that you get to in life that that there's absolutely nothing that you can do about it. God. And the only thing that that you can, I hated trust God. It's not like I didn't like trust God, but I'm more of, like, as you are trusting God, as you are trusting God, be making moves. But guess what? At the end of the day, no single penny was left. I raised my money and I traveled to the US. And before the success story, I gave up on Watson. I met someone on LinkedIn, someone gave me $1,000. She just paid for it, like, oh, Joshua, like, I love your vision. Oh, I'm going to put 1K into your money. And, you know, that's how I constantly started raising money. Like, somebody will send me 5K, another person will send me 10K. And it was shameful. And I am not even going to say this because, first off, if you're a young person that is doing development work and you don't have money, people are like, why are you raising money? Like, you're supposed to be getting a job, right? Like, you're supposed to be getting a job. Well, why I agree to getting a job, but let's understand that our journeys are really different, right? For the fact that somebody does not necessarily have a job does not necessarily mean that they don't have, like, I applied for so many jobs. In fact, there was one organization which I can't mention. I applied and they told me that it was not because I was not fit for the job, but because they felt like I was going to be competing with them. And I'm like, okay, so this is what exactly you find in the development space. Key robot, I let it go. So long story short, I raised my money, I traveled, I met people. I mean, like, it changed my whole life. So in somewhere around November, December, when people asked me, like, Joshua, what are you doing after Watson? I told them that, guys, I'm going to study abroad. Wow. I don't know how that's going to happen. And this time, I am going to get a fully funded, scholarship. That was all I was going to do, because I told myself, there's no point going to America now. You now come back to Nigeria. You're not trying to do GoFundMe again to come and be raising money. You say, this boy, you're not serious. So I decided to apply for Chevening.
How did you find out about Chevening?
I knew about Chevening in 2017.
Okay.
But I didn't feel like I had what it I didn't feel like I had what it took to be a Chevening scholar. Right, so I saw it like from the UK, prestigious. I'm like, wow. So, and I went to check the track record of past Chevening scholars. I'm like, Joshua, you're just starting this work. Like, what experience do you have?
What would you say?
You know, what experience do you have to apply for Chevening? So I said, you know, hold on to it. So in 2018, I saw Chevening again. I'm like, okay, maybe 2019, Joshua, give it a try. So I gave it a try in 2019, and to God be the glory. I'm actually a Chevening scholar. I'm traveling to the UK fully funded. I'm not raising money. I'm okay. I feel good. I bless God. Yeah, so that's about it. Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's so like inspiring. So what would you say was the application process like? Like, how was it? Was it challenging? Was it easy? Was it like, how would you describe your application experience?
Well, I feel like Chevening essays give you more clarity to your vision, right? You know, when the Bible says that write a vision and make it plain so that he who reads it may be able to run with it. And you know, that's what Chevening did for me. It gave me an opportunity to actually sit down to write my vision, right? So I feel like Chevening has given me more clarity as to, because it was the most painstakingly essay that I've ever written in my entire life. You know, when people were sleeping, I was on my laptop, I was just
trying to write the essays.
Exactly, and at the end of the day, so now that I have that product, I feel that Chevening essays are hard. I'm not going to lie, they're hard. But if you are able to write your essays, at the end of the day, you would have more clarity as to what you should be doing according to the field that you find yourself. Yeah. That's if you stay true to your vision anyways. So
I'm curious, you're actually studying an MA in poverty and development. Like, okay, what inspired this decision? Like, what made you choose this for your fully funded scholarship?
So I think what really informed my decision has always been about restructuring Africa.
Okay.
In terms of our poverty landscape. When people hear about Africa, what do they think about? If you do a random Google search on Africa, you probably find kids who don't have proper clothes, or you probably find a kid probably at a tap, you know, trying to put his hand and trying to drink water, or you probably find an African child holding a plate of food. So for me, I just really feel that there's so much that can happen within this continent. Sometimes it's not because we don't lack the capacity, it's because we have a crop of bad leaders who are not necessarily concerned about the people, and they are just concerned about their pockets. So for me, studying poverty and development is saying, you know, how can we transition from, most especially from Nigeria, because I can remember when I was very little, we used to see Nigeria, we used to call Nigeria the giant of Africa, and with a population of over 220 million people and 80% living on less than $2 a day, I feel that there's a huge gap. So when we talk about shared prosperity, when we talk about poverty, inequality, I mean, like, there's a high rate of poverty inequality. So it means that the rich is getting rich and the poor, they're getting poor, and some people don't even know where they are. So for me, studying poverty and development is just understanding how exactly can we place countries, how exactly can we place, the African nation in such a way that, we are creating within our own selves. We are not depending on external factors to be able to help us, right? In the sense that we are self-sustaining, right? Without paying so much attention to foreign aid. Foreign aid, I'm not saying foreign aid is bad, but I'm saying that, if you keep giving someone, if you keep giving a child, fish, and you don't necessarily teach the child how to fish, in the sense, it's like you are giving them money to destroy the nation, right? Because if you don't work for money, if you don't create money, if you don't, you might not understand the value. And again, too, I feel that youths are actually transformational in making this change happen, because currently, according to the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, according to the recent 2020 reports that state that over 13.1 million youths are currently unemployed, showing that, imagine that we were teaching these young people to actually solve problems within their respective communities. I'm not saying all of you start an NGO. I'm just saying, you are within a community. What can you do within, And again, we also need to start paying attention to the informal sector, where you have the barbers, where you have the shoemakers, where you have the hairdressers, where you have the online food entrepreneurs, where you have the online hair making businesses. So it's showing that the informal sector is growing at such a rate that, we all might not be able to control. So what are the things that we need to do? Meaning that this is a space where the government is supposed to realize that, this is a growing economy. How can we, put in more practices to say, how can we host online trainings, or how can we partner with a company like Facebook that will help Nigerians, or set up stores? How can we partner with the likes of maybe Twitter to help verify some of all these business accounts? So I feel that we need to start utilizing our space. The government needs to step into the informal sector. When you also talk about loans, how accessible are these loans? Without knowing anybody, can you actually access, can you really access a loan? So studying poverty and development for me is just understanding, the role that a young person will play in driving sustainable poverty reduction strategies in Nigeria, and of course in Africa at large. Just before I end up talking about why poverty and development, the World Bank also states that one of its key focus is promoting shared prosperity, and of course ensuring that 40% within a country's population, they can also make income for themselves. So meaning that how can we start paying attention to upskilling youths, right? So let's say that youths are currently not unemployed. How are we creating 21st century learning opportunities for young people to be able to drive, to be able to sustain themselves, make an income for themselves, so that at the end of the day, if you are making 5,000 naira monthly, you are paying your tax. I'm making 5,000 naira monthly, I'm paying my tax. I also have a young person that understands the importance of paying this tax and is channeling those tax received into development projects, infrastructures, education, healthcare. I feel like in 5-10 years we'll be able to move Nigeria forward better than it is right now.
Have you actually experienced imposter syndrome, feeling can I really do these things, can I really achieve this thing, or do I really have the ability to do this, or moments where you're like, is this really for me? Have you had such moments?
Yes, I've had such moments. In fact, for every project that we do, I've sometimes had, such moments, because sometimes in your head you're like, how is this whole thing going to plan out? Last year we had a budget of over 4-point-something million naira for Love and Pint, and it was so expensive. But because we were trying to see how can we innovate, blood drives within Nigeria, the first one that we did was at Moyokonla Park. And we brought people. We had the likes of Skibi. We had the likes of Skibi. We had the likes of T Classic, and we also had the likes of CDQ, who also came just to put their voice, to how, young people can get more involved in donating blood. Pretty big, it was nice. Then second year, our goal was to actually do Love and Pints at Landmark Beach.
Okay.
And Landmark Beach was so expensive, but, the goal was, it was going to be a beach experience. So it was pretty expensive. But at the end of the day, our project held at Landmark Beach. Up until now, we've over 3,678 youths have actually participated in our blood drives. We've been able to raise about 565 thereabouts, 597 pints of blood in 2 years. And when I look at all these things, and I'm like, when you start, you always the task always seems impossible. Right? Sometimes if you look at your budget, if you look at your money, if you look at the people that are required to also help you drive this vision, sometimes it seems very difficult. But one thing is, it will never stop, because for every height that you attain, you feel that there's a new challenge, right? So I feel like this whole imposter syndrome wouldn't stop. You just have to learn to understand that there are times and seasons for certain things. And once you pass that boundary, or once you pass that challenge, you're now looking for the next big thing. So for every time I find myself down, of course, that's why it's also good for you to belong to certain communities, So who are your friends? How do you inspire yourself? Do you go for a walk? Do you go for a hike? Do you read? So you also have to learn how to be self-generating you have to learn to be self-generating, so that, if everything around you is seeming difficult, you also have to learn to inspire yourself. So trust me, it's not an easy journey. Sometimes I feel very incapacitated, but at the end of the day, we're still doing the work, and we're still passionate about the things that we love to do. So yeah.
So about your Chevening application process as well, did you have moments of feeling like, can I really get this thing? Did I get it?
Oh.
And did you have people that maybe told you like, are you sure you can get this thing?
Well, I'll just say that it's great to have an amen corner. And somebody that people who really can push you forward, people who can pave the way for you, and people that can help you understand that your dreams are actually valid. And I had such people, one of which will be Gideon Olarinwaju Shipa, Larry Shipa. And before I applied for my Chevening, I told him I was really interested in Chevening. I was like, oh no bro, let's get to it. And when I wrote my first essay, it wasn't clear, but just having conversations really now broaden my perspective, because sometimes sometimes you don't see yourself. It is people that can tell, hey, you have something, tell your story, right? So I feel like it's very great for you to have an amen corner, have people that can support you, have people that can believe in you. Trust me, no man is an island. If you feel that all you need is capacity, you have the ability to write essays, or you've been doing a lot of community development work, and you don't have relationship with people, you don't have good networks, you don't have good communication skills, you don't have people that can sponsor, you don't have people that can say a word for you, I feel like that might be really hard. Fun fact, I worked at a certain company in 2017, and it was just random. And I worked in the company for 5 months. Then after 5 months, I went for my NYC. When I had my Chevening interview, the person who interviewed me from the British High Commission happened to did a research in that company in 2018 thereabouts. So every project that I talked about,
the person could verify.
The person could verify that, and the person who in fact, during my interview, I didn't even talk about the person. It was the person that wrote me my recommendation letter that said, this, she said, oh, so this person, oh, I worked at this company, so I'm like, wow. So immediately I was done, I sent a thank you to the person that wrote me a recommendation letter to say, sir, this was what I saw at my interview today. The person who interviewed me said she knew you, she knew about the company, and she knew about the project. So I feel like it's very, very important for you to actually belong to certain communities. You never can know who is standing for you. Sure. You never can know who is fighting for you. And I feel that there's one mistake that a lot of young people make. They always feel that they can do it alone. And there's this, there's this pride that comes with when you start winning opportunities, or when your dreams start becoming valid, because you feel like, hey, nobody can talk to you, you're now self-sufficient. So trust me, if you want to go that path, well, you might eventually succeed, but I'll just advise that belong to communities, work with people, have friends, have people that can fight for you, have people that can support you. you can't always do it alone. Trust me, it will be more tiring. Yeah.
So walk me through the day that you got your conditional selection email. What were you doing? Well, let's actually start from shortlist. Like, how was your shortlist email? Like, how was that day?
Well, I had 2 goals for this year. One was one didn't work out, and the other one was Chevening. So I messed up at my first interview. So I was already downcasted. I also got an opportunity to study in the US. It was more of data for development, and I was waiting for that, and Corona happened. So when Chevening happened, I was in my room, and I think I was just trying to work, trying to get some things done. And the next thing I saw, a mail, do not reply, Chevening.
That mail can give somebody
I jumped. I would have I felt like my head even hit the top of my skin, because I'm like,
what?
Yo, I screamed, I shouted. My mom had to run into the room. She's like, Joshua, what happened? I'm like,
what happened?
I say, Mom, you cannot understand, don't worry. So I screamed, I shouted, and immediately they told me, oh, you can book for your interview. Immediately I booked for my interview.
Wow.
So I felt like there was just this haha moment just to remind you. It was a long wait. It was a long wait. But when that mail eventually came, I knew that, and again, it was interview. So even going for my interview, I was like, Joshua, what do you have to say? Then again, I went back to past callers. I'm like, I looked at their track record, and I'm like, Joshua, me and this person, what can I say? What can I offer? But then I just had to tell myself that, Joshua, somebody found you worthy to give you a slot to actually tell your story. So what they did, what that mail did was, your story was valid. I love what you said. Now, come and sit down with me and tell me what you have done. So I knew that this was another opportunity to talk about the great work we're doing through Restructure Africa, talk about how I've been supporting young people, and just be myself, because it's just to verify your work. Now, remember that I said that the person that I worked with had to tell me that, oh, I know about this project and I can verify that I work with this project. So trust me, you just have to keep doing the work. One day, your work or the opportunity that you seek will eventually be validated, and Chevening did that for me. Yeah.
Amazing. So is there anything about the process, the Chevening process, that you wish you could have done differently, possibly any mistake or behavioral? Was there anything at all?
I think for me, it would have been just more research, more research, digging deep, digging deep more. Yes, I did it, but at the same time, I felt like if I maybe dig in more, I would have found better, because there's a plethora of knowledge online, it's a lot. So for me, it was just digging deep, digging deep and just getting more clarity, because I felt like if I'd done that earlier, the long process that it took me to, write my essay, it wouldn't have taken that long if I had a clear understanding of where exactly I was headed. So for me, I feel that it would just be, digging deep, doing more research, meeting more people, having more conversations, and just, I'm here.
So what final words do you have for someone who has, a dream of winning a scholarship or winning the Chevening scholarship? What would you say to that person?
Well, I'll try not to sound like a motivational speaker, but do not let your background put you to the ground. I'm careful not to talk about certain vulnerabilities, but do not let the situations that you find yourself really determine your future, because if you keep thinking about the past, right, you probably might not be able to move forward. If you keep thinking about, I'm not prepared, I'm not ready, you probably might not be able to grab certain opportunities. So sometimes just come as you are, show up, right? Tell your story, right? There are certain opportunities that I know that I'm not qualified for it, but I apply. But why am I applying? I am applying to get a rejection, and it seems weird. I know that I'm not qualified, but I'm just applying so that it's I have something in my head that I just will apply for this thing, and I apply. And when I get a response and I'm like, yeah, I expected it, because I know that, it was just a long shot. My first ever opportunity was that I applied for, even though I didn't get selected, the opportunity started from 27, but I was 23 and I applied for the opportunity. And they gave me a response. Yes, and I enjoyed it. And I'm like, well, 4 years later, I'll actually come back for you. So I feel like, just keep at it, do your work. do your work. Like wherever you find yourself, just keep doing the work. Your work would actually fight for you, right? Your work, really, your work, like the work of your hands, would actually fight for you, because if anybody is going to support you, if anybody is going to fight for you, sometimes they also need to verify the things that you are doing, right? And it is in these things that they see, right, that they can actually support. Because trust me, we're all stories waiting to be told. But these stories don't necessarily need to be told by us. Somebody can actually tell our story. So first off, if you don't tell your story, nobody can tell your story. So you really have to put yourself out there. You have to apply for opportunities. Trust me, it might be stressful, but at the end of the day, I feel like you'll be able to, you'll be able to get the gratification that you need.
What about people that keep getting rejected? What would you say to them as well? Because another thing is people get discouraged, put down by the fact that, okay, they applied the first time, they didn't get it, they've applied for other things, and they don't.
So sometimes it can also be a factor of misalignment, right? Because sometimes you're clear, like you don't have a clear goal as to where exactly you are headed. So let's say, for instance, I am applying for an organization that is talking on education, right? And in my essay, I'm talking about education, I'm talking about healthcare, I'm talking about food donation, I'm talking about clothes giving. He doesn't connect. So whoever is going to read your story has to understand that, oh, if I'm going to invest $1,000 in this person, I can see from a track record that this person is deeply concerned about issues that pertain to education. So sometimes it can also be a misalignment. And trust me, when you hear people who apply for such opportunities, they also tell you that for every rejection, they had to go back, to also, check on their lives, also improve on their narratives. Again, there's also the mistake of people apply for an opportunity the first year. So when they're applying the next year, they use the same essay.
Like, why would you do that?
Yes, like they use the same essay from the previous year. They use it to apply for that same opportunity. So it shows that in 1 year you've not grown, right? So meaning that if I don't give you the opportunity, you keep waiting. Do you get? So that's not good investment. So that would also be something. And again, too, it's just process. It's just process. So sometimes you also need to trust the process. This is my first time applying for Chevening, and I didn't get selected. I got selected. I didn't get rejected. It might seem hard, but I am still in the process where it has fully not occurred to me that I'm a Chevening scholar.
I know, right?
Right, because I'm like, oh, it happened. So just put your best foot forward. As I would always say, yeah.
All right, guys, that was really, really inspiring. I learned a whole lot from you, and it was really fun listening to you. I'm sure that you guys have learned a whole lot. Thank you for coming today. It was really nice having you. It was really nice listening to you.
Thank you so much.
And yes, I remain your girl, AFM Stories. This video was sponsored by Edmond Consulting. Don't forget to like, comment, share this video, and until next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.